"Do I not say truly, Gandalf," said Aragorn at last, "that you could go whithersoever you wished quicker than I? And this I also say, you are our captain and our banner. The Dark Lord has 9, but we have one mightier than they, the White Rider. He has passed through the fire and the abyss, and they shall fear him. We will go where he leads."
Welcome to the Wayward Wizards podcast. Today we're reading Book 3, Chapter 5 of The Two Towers, The White Rider. And my name is Logan.
My name is Zach.
This is, I think we say this a lot, but this chapter charges me up like a few others in the book. Something about Gandalf coming back and he's like glowed up. You know what I mean? It's like so epic, and like the way Gandalf talks like changes. He's like all of a sudden he's got
completely
this like,
different,
totally different like tone of speech. And I just found myself reading this chapter, and I was just like, I like fell in love with the book again somehow.
I'm so in, man.
It made me so excited to read. So anyway, that's my long introduction to how excited I am about it.
Woo! I mean, I think I said like clear back in chapter 2 that chapter 2 could be called Lord of the Rings and the Changing of the Tone.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is like a major tonal shift again. You can almost like feel like what stage of the drafts Tolkien was in based on just how the chapter reads and moves. Like, we get so much exposition in this chapter, and it is just so clear that like Tolkien's mind was like crystal clear about what this book was about and where it was going.
That's right.
And how the plot was moving forward. It's like, not only is Gandalf back with this like clearer sight, it's almost like Tolkien himself is just like laser beam focused on where the story is going. Yeah, I find it so exhilarating to read. Like, Gandalf just basically tells us how the entire rest of the book is going to go.
Right. I also found that I think this entire chapter, there's not a word out of place.
No.
It's like so worked over to the point where it's like we could literally go a sentence at a time and like parse apart what's happening in every sentence because it's just so perfectly rendered, I think.
There's a point when it says that Gandalf like puts his hand over his eyes and like looks off into the far distance, and he's like searching for Frodo's like spiritual essence or whatever. And he's he's beyond my sight, you know? So Gandalf has this ability now. I think maybe he always had a little bit of this, but now he has the ability to like strive spiritually with the Dark Tower. Like, he can like cast his spirit like far afield. He's able to like telepathically connect with Shadowfax to like draw him closer.
Yeah, as if they weren't close enough already.
Yeah, we're getting some like Shadowfax descriptions here that kind of made me blush a little bit. He's able to kind of lay out like the plot of the entire rest of the book, essentially. He's like, Sauron is going to be pissed because now he's going to know that Sauron has betrayed him, right? So not only did Sauron betray us, but Sauron has betrayed the Dark Lord.
Yes.
And so now, like, you know, Sauron's like only chance essentially is to get the ring back for himself, which he has now failed at. So Sauron's going to eventually destroy him. He kind of just like lays it out. He's like, Sauron's going to like try and like go for Rohan. Sauron is going to march on Minas Tirith because he thinks that that's probably where the ring went, because that's the only thing that he can imagine that we would have done. He can't imagine that we would have destroyed the ring, so he assumes that we must have sent it to Minas Tirith. So now he's going to march on Minas Tirith. I mean, so think about it. We get like basically the Battle of Helm's Deep, the Battle of Pelennor Fields foreseen here by Gandalf. He understands like how the Dark Lord's mind works. He understands like the limitations of how Sauron's mind works. He's far seeing, like he's seen it all. He knows exactly how it's going to play out. it's also just so moving to have Gandalf back. Like, imagine reading this for the first time. I think you and I have like interacted with this story so much since we were children that we probably can't remember the time when we didn't know that Gandalf was coming back. But imagine reading this for the first time, not knowing that Gandalf was going to come back in like 1954 or whenever
Absolutely.
they would have gotten a hold of this volume. Like, I can just imagine like just like throwing that sucker down and just like pacing around the room because I was so jazzed that Gandalf was back.
I know, it's so exciting. I love it. Where should we start on this guy?
Why don't we start at the beginning? That's a good place to start.
Gimli's cold.
Yeah, so they wake up after, their very strange night on the outskirts of Fangorn Forest. They saw this old man on the edge of the light of their fire, and they invited him over, but he didn't say anything. It was really creepy. They were like, all right, is this Sauron? And then their horses run away, which, is a disaster because it had all their food and all their provisions and stuff. And they still don't know exactly what's happened to Merry and Pippin. So they've found like some signs that Merry and Pippin are alive, but they're still not exactly sure. And so, they're essentially speculating on like, who is this old man? What signs are we going to find? I think this line from Aragorn is really cool. They're speculating about all these things. And Aragorn says, come, the light is growing fast. Let's look first and guess later. So he's like, hey, we can guess like all day, but at the end of the day, we just have to actually look.
It says that they're crawling and groping on the ground.
Yeah, they're just looking for any sign they could find.
But then they find, here at last we find news, said Aragorn. And he finds just a broken leaf.
He says, here is a malorn leaf of Lorien, and there are small crumbs on it and a few more crumbs in the grass. So he's finding little limbus crumbs.
Yeah, he found their little snacking area there.
And then he says, and see, there are some pieces of cut cord lying nearby.
Yeah, and then Gimli finds the knife. Gimli doesn't even want to hold this knife. It's like so disgusting to him. They find these little clues that we got a sort of first-hand account of all this stuff. It's still just like a mystery to them, and I love that we just get to kind of like see them piece these things together. And then, they're kind of like, I guess he was pleased with himself, and so they sat down and cut some whey bread or ate some whey bread, and which we laughed about as like such a hobbit thing to do. Like, we better stop here and have a snack, But he says that at least is enough to show that he was a hobbit. So even without the leaves, they could have figured it out.
Yeah, I love Legolas's sassiness really comes out in this bit. He's kind of breaking down like how he figures he cut the cords, and he goes, being pleased with his skill, he then sat down and quietly ate some whey bread. That at least is enough to show that he was a hobbit without the malorn leaf. After that, I suppose he turned his arms into wings and flew away, singing into the trees. It should be easy to find him. We only need wings ourselves. It's like Legolas's like sassiness kind of coming out here.
Yeah, is he a little annoyed? I mean, is he?
Yeah.
It's kind of, he's like, yeah, how long are we gonna have to chase these guys around?
Yeah. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like they're trudging through the snow, like how I can't remember exactly the quote, but Legolas is like, I'm just gonna like run off and grab the sun for you guys, and he like just like runs across the. Do you remember that where he gets like a little jokey? Everybody else is miserable.
Yeah, he's kind of I feel like there's kind of like a mythological, I don't know what, fairy tale thing where elves are kind of tricksters and jokesters and things like that, and so maybe Legolas kind of has some of that
lightheartedness.
Yeah, just always lighthearted,
making jokes.
Mm-hmm.
But they point out that they, still don't know if it's both hobbits or if it's just one of them. Aragorn kind of lays out basically exactly what happens. He goes, the orc was slain by horsemen, and later his body was hauled to the fire, but the hobbit was not seen. He was not in the open, for it was night, and he still had his elven cloak. He kind of just lays out everything that happened exactly. Like you can, like we can see his genius because we have already seen the story play out firsthand.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like seeing him work through and puzzle this through. But speaking of the hobbit, he says he was exhausted and hungry. And it is not to be wondered at that when he had cut his bonds with the knife of his fallen enemy, he rested and ate a little bit before he crept away. But he points out that he doesn't know if it's both hobbits yet or if it's just one of them.
Yeah, I say he, but I just hope and guess that both Merry and Pippin were here together. But there's actually nothing to show that for certain yet. Yeah, Gimli asks, how do you suppose that either of our friends came to have a hand free? And of course, they don't know that yet.
But he kind of lays it all out. He goes that is my tale. Others might be devised, but on this we may count in any case. One at least of our friends has escaped. He says, it is our task to find him and help him before we return to Rohan.
Yeah, and Gimli doesn't love the idea of going into the forest, but they've been running all this time, and the idea of going through Rohan on foot is not so great. So Aragorn's like, well, let's go into the forest.
What he says is essentially, at the end of the day, like regardless of how we feel, we know that the right thing to do is to go after these guys and hope that we can find them. But they still don't know. They don't know how many. Like they don't know if both Merry and Pippin are alive. They trust that one of them is alive, but they don't know.
I mean, he picks up the trail really quickly. Like he's definitely like in, like you said, he's in Strider mode, and it just doesn't take him long to figure out where these guys went and where they are.
I love what Gimli says here. He goes, I do not wish to meet that old man at unawares without an argument ready to hand. That is all. Let us go. So I think it's interesting. He's like holding his axe. He calls it an argument. It's just such an interesting like noun to describe your weapon, to call it an argument.
Yeah, I love it.
I guess it's cool. It's like an argument is something that will convince someone to do something, or like convince someone that you're right. And he's like,
convince him with this.
Yeah. This axe is very convincing, right?
Yeah, that's a great point.
So finally, right after Gimli talks about his axe as an argument, they get to the banks of a stream, and this is like the stream where we saw them bathing their feet a couple chapters ago. So they find two sets of footprints, and they're like, okay, great. And one is like smaller than the other. They're like, okay, so this is definitely Pippin. This is definitely Merry. So they know that both of the hobbits are alive, which has got to be a relief to them. They're talking about all these things, and then Legolas goes, hush, speak more softly, look. Down in the wood, back in the way that we have just come, it is he. Cannot you see him passing from tree to tree? So after Legolas sees him, Gimli and Aragorn see the old man coming. It says, it looked like an old beggar man, walking wearily, leaning on a rough staff. His head was bowed, and he did not look towards them. In other lands they would have greeted him with kind words, but now they stood silent, each feeling a strange expectancy. Something was approaching that held a hidden power or menace.
Gimli is pretty frightened, I think, of this old man.
He's ready to kill him on sight.
But it's not coming from any kind of place of like bravado or courage or strength or anything like that. It's coming from a place of like, I don't know what this thing is capable of. He thinks. Yeah. I think he clearly thinks it's Saruman.
Yeah, he even says, it is Sauron. Do not let him speak, or he'll put a spell on us. Shoot first.
He's like ready to go, like, and he's like directing Legolas, which is so funny. I mean, their relationship has changed so much throughout the end of last chapter and the end of last book and the beginning of this one.
Yeah,
and they're. He's like ordering him around, and he's like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you waiting? Hit this guy, like snipe him,
Yeah, like get rid of him. Yeah, exactly.
But again, like the same kind of whatever manners or politeness or chivalry or something that leads Aragorn to invite the figure into their camp the night before.
Yeah.
He's like, we can't just like shoot a guy without him knowing, like
unawares and unchallenged.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. Legolas is right.
Yeah.
And he sort of calls, Gimli out. Whatever fear or doubt be on us. Like he claims it for himself as well.
Yeah.
Watch and wait. And then all of a sudden this person, springs up the side of this stair.
Like a goat. Yeah.
Yeah, like a goat. So he's not, this kind of wizened, bent old man that they think.
He says, well met indeed, my friends. I wish to
Yeah.
speak to you. Will you come down or shall I climb up?
And then again, Gimli's like, "Now, stop him, get him."
And then the old man tells Legolas to put his bow down, and Legolas puts his bow down.
Yeah.
That's like what a spell is, right? We talked about this a few times on the pod, but
Yeah, word of power, right?
and then he says to Gimli, and this is why I wanted to mention arguments earlier. He goes, "And you, Master Dwarf, pray take your hand from your axe haft till I am up. You will not need such arguments."
Yeah.
So it's like,
Love
all right,
that.
did he overhear Gimli talk about his argument
Or
earlier?
does he just somehow know, right?
He's just able to like at one point he calls it like bending his mind,
Yeah.
like he's bending his mind on them before they even know he's there, and so he can like read their minds, like he knows
Yeah.
exactly what they're thinking.
Pretty freaky. "Well met, I say again," said the old man, coming towards them. He's even a little cheery, and of course they don't
Yeah.
recognize him yet.
No,
But he says the same thing. I mean, sort of similar to
what Eomer says.
what Amber says. Yeah, "An elf, a man, and a dwarf, all clad in elvish fashion? No doubt there's a tale worth hearing behind it all. Such things are not often seen here."
Yeah, and Aragorn's like, you seem like you know a lot about Fangorn Forest, old man. And he goes, I wouldn't say a lot. Like that would be the study of many lives. But I come here now and again. Like I've been in Fangorn from time to time.
Yeah.
Think about the humility of like he probably knows more about Fangorn Forest than anybody other than Treebeard.
Yeah, right, for sure.
But he has this like humility even now of saying like, yeah, like that would take many lives to be able to claim to know something about this forest because it's so old. Shows like a respect. But he seems to know a lot. He goes, "You are tracking the footsteps of two young hobbits, I believe." "Yes, hobbits. Don't stare as if you have never heard the strange name before. You have, and so have I. Well, they climbed up here the day before yesterday, and they met someone that they did not expect. Does that comfort you?" So once again, if we don't know this is Gandalf, that's sinister. That's like a menacing statement.
And I think it's a little less sinister because Aragorn recognizes his laugh. In the paragraph before, Aragorn, he laughs. He says, "As for my name,"
Yeah.
he broke off laughing, and softly Aragorn felt a shudder run through him at the sound, a strange cold thrill, and yet it was not fear or terror that he felt. Rather, it was like a sudden bite of keen air or the slap of a cold rain that wakes up an uneasy sleeper.
Yeah, so it's like Aragorn, I think, is probably like they sense his power, and I think they are probably sensing at this point because they're all so afraid. They're like, okay, there's something about this guy that is like extremely powerful. Like he's clad in like gray rags. He's disguising himself as an old man, but he's actually Sauron. It's probably what they're thinking in their heads,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like he's not showing his true self, and it's almost like he, like through his laugh, he like almost like pulls back the veil a little bit, and rather than immediately being like Gandalf, they're just like, whoa, like this guy is definitely not what he seems. But yeah, when he's like, they met someone they did not expect. Like, that if we're reading this for the first time, we don't know this is Gandalf.
It does read like I took care of the hobbits.
And then you know what I did. Yeah. But he says, "Your errand, you see, is no longer as urgent as you thought. Let us sit down and be more at ease." So once again, that could be taken a couple of different ways. We who know the story know that he's saying like, "Hey, like, great job. You did exactly what you're supposed to do. I'm proud of you." Reading it without knowing that it's Gandalf, it's like, yeah, that thing that you were trying to do, save those hobbits. Guess what?
Yeah, you don't have to do that anymore because they don't exist. Right? Like,
yeah, it's sinister sounding.
Yeah, totally.
He walks away from them for a moment and says, immediately, as if the spell had been removed, the others relaxed and stirred. Gimli's hand went at once to his axe shaft. Aragorn drew his sword. Legolas picked up his bow. So it's almost like his words have like pacified them. He's controlled them. He's commanded them with his voice. But then he moves away and the spell is broken. And so they're all just once again like, all right, yeah, like let's get ready. We're going to fight. Gimli even cries Sauron and springs towards him with his axe.
I mean, his cloak draws apart and they see white. Yeah, Gimli yells Saruman and springs toward him. "Speak, tell us where you've hidden our friends."
"What have you done with them? Speak, where I'll make a dent in your hat that even a wizard will find it hard to deal with." Classic Gimli. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So brazen.
And this is where he becomes like a little bit of like a superhero. He like
Yeah.
springs to his feet and he leaps to the top of a large rock. His hood and his gray rags were flung away, and his white garments shone. And then he lifts up his staff, and then like Gimli drops his axe. Aragorn's sword like catches on fire.
Yeah, blazed with a sudden fire, and so does the arrow of Legolas, which just gets shot into the air, but it vanishes in a flash of flame.
And that's when Legolas is like, Mithrandir, Mithrandir. Like
Yeah.
that's when he really knows.
Does he know because Gandalf is the bearer of the secret flame?
Oh, that's a really great insight. I don't know. That's a great insight. I love
Like
that.
something about the fire, like having that kind of fire magic is like special enough that
Yeah, Gandalf is known for fireworks and fire.
I like that Gandalf continuously is like, well met. He said
Yeah.
this like twice or at least.
I think it's
save
the
you
third time you
again,
said well met.
Legolas,
Yeah. Yeah.
said the old man. They all gazed at him. His hair was white as snow in the sunshine, and gleaming white was his robe. The eyes under his deep brows were bright, piercing as the rays of the sun. Power was in his hand. Between wonder, joy, and fear, they stood and found no words to say.
Gandalf, says Aragorn, beyond all hope you returned to us in our need. What veil was over my sight?
Gimli just sinks to his knees.
Yeah. Shading his eyes, it's almost like he's like ashamed of how he wasn't able to see before. It's like
Yeah.
obvious to them now. I mean, like imagine how they feel seeing Gandalf again. Like
Yeah.
their guide, their mentor, their leader, their captain dies in front of their eyes, and now he's back. It's like the dream of like human history.
Yeah.
Like the tragedy of being human is that all of us die and all of us experience deep loss. And so like, I don't know, I was like asking myself the question this morning as I was reading through this, preparing, like who's the equivalent to this person in my life where I could just be like at my lowest moment and then they would show up, and what that would do to me, like spiritually. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm at my lowest moment, and the person that I absolutely need in this moment comes back from the dead.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a iconic moment. And really it's like every myth I think like kind of comes back to this desire of like of human beings somehow having some sort of defeat over death.
Yeah.
But it's almost like Jesus on Easter morning, appearing before Mary and saying like, Mary, and her not recognizing him and being like, supposing that he was the gardener, saying like, if you've taken him somewhere and put his body somewhere, like, let me know where you laid him.
Like, she's so distraught that she can't like she can't see him. I kind of imagine her tears
Clouding her
in that
eyes.
moment, clouding her eyes and just not being able to see.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Mary.
Yeah. And Gandalf here is like, again, I say, well met. It's me.
Yeah. It's like his laugh like kind of breaks the veil for Aragorn just briefly, but he still almost like can't bring himself to believe it.
And I don't think you could. I think even if I think it makes sort of perfect sense that even if they're looking full into his face, they just can't see him, because they saw him fall.
Yeah.
They have this like almost like a deep attachment to their grief, right? Around that.
Yeah.
And so to be like broken out of that takes like a display of something miraculous, like this magic that he has. But finally, Aragorn stirred, it says, Gandalf. And he says there was a veil over my sight. That's what I mean by grief, like sort of being attached to grief.
Yeah.
That you really can't see clearly.
I think it's fascinating his response. He goes, Gandalf. The old man repeated, as if recalling from old memory a long disused word. Yes, that was the name. I was Gandalf. He says, yes, you may still call me Gandalf. Time has moved very differently for him than the others. So much time has like passed in his experience of time that he has like forgotten his own name.
Right. He needs a reminder. He doesn't even say my name. He says that was the name.
The name. Yeah.
Yeah. I was Gandalf. You could still call me that. And then he pardons Gimli. I think
Yeah.
Gimli needs a little pardon
Rise,
here.
rise, Gimli. He goes, "Indeed, my friends, none of you have any weapon that can hurt me. Be merry.
Wow.
We meet again at the turn of the tide. The great storm is coming, but the tide has turned."
The tide has turned. This is what I'm talking about. You know, like, I mean, the tide has turned. You're like, what? What tide? I mean, I
Yeah.
guess I'm glad that Gandalf is back, but it does not feel like any tide has turned yet, right?
No, not for Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas, no.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, even though we just, we just read about Merry and Pippin and the Ents turning against Isengard. I guess that's kind of a turning of a tide in a way. But it certainly doesn't feel. And by the way, we don't know anything about Frodo and Sam.
No.
And so here's Gandalf telling us the tide has turned, and I guess we just have to believe him.
Yeah, and Gimli kind of doesn't understand what he's saying. He's like what? Like he's essentially like, what are you talking about? Gimli looks up and he laughs. Like he's like, oh my god, like Gandalf.
You're all dressed in white.
You're all dressed in white. And he goes, yeah, I am white now. Indeed, I am Sauron. Sauron as he should have been.
I think I've missed that every single time I've read this. I am Saruman. You're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's like been sent in the like role or vocation, the charge that Saruman was supposed to have to be this leader and he has shirked that, he's completely, and not just shirked it, he's turned 180, he's like repented from it. He's
been a traitor. Yeah.
Right. He's like completely going the other direction. He's a traitor. But I am Saruman as he should have been. Like, whoa. Like, okay. So he's like replacing Saruman somehow in the world, which is like fascinating.
In like the authority that was Sauron's that he misused,
right,
and betrayed. Now he's been sent back by like powers beyond the comprehension of anyone.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, like your weapons, they can't hurt me anymore. Like there's no weapon that you have that could kill me. And this speech here is so badass. He goes, but come now. Tell me of yourselves. I have passed through fire and deep water since we parted. I have forgotten much that I thought I knew and learned again much that I had forgotten. I can see many things far off, but many things that are close at hand I cannot see. Tell me of yourselves. So it's almost like he's been sanctified. Like we're coming up on a bit here where Gimli at one point says like, now that Gandalf's head is sacred, let me find one that I can cleave. Like Gimli is like kind of joking about it, but Gandalf is like basically revealing to them like, yeah, I am now, like, I'm different than what I was before. I'm transformed. I've been made sacred. Like, yeah, I'm elevated.
It's that transfiguration moment, or the word is actually metamorphosis, right? He's like,
yeah,
even though he still has this physical form, it's a totally different thing that is existing in the world.
So Aragorn's like, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you like everything that we know, but it's a long tale, but will you not at least tell us if the hobbits are safe? And, did you find them? And Gandalf's like, no, I didn't find them. I didn't even find out about their captivity until the eagle told me. And they're like, the eagle? So here's the eagle.
Eagle.
Yeah, we saw an eagle too, man. We've been wondering what that eagle was for a while. All that kind of pays off. All that foreshadowing of Legolas seeing an eagle.
Right.
Legolas is like, I've seen an eagle high and far off. The last time was 4 days ago. And Gandalf's like, yeah, that's my buddy Gwaihir the Wing Lord, who rescued me from Orthanc. I sent him before me to watch the river and gather tidings. His sight is keen, but he cannot see all that passes under hill and tree. And here we also get confirmation that he was the voice that we heard when Frodo was in the high place, that he did indeed like strive with the Dark Tower.
I strove with the Dark Tower, and the shadow passed. Then I was weary, very weary, and I walked long in dark thought. Then you know about Frodo, said Gimli. How did things go with him? But of course he can't say.
Yeah, after that moment of striving, Frodo leaves beyond his ability to bend his thought towards him. Legolas is the one who informs him. It's like, Frodo didn't walk off alone. Sam went with him. And Gandalf is surprised by this news. He says, "It is news to me, yet it does not surprise me. Good, very good. You lighten my heart."
It says that he has a gleam in his eye and a smile on his face, which to me, that's the old Gandalf,
Yeah.
like always, with that twinkle in his eye, kind of just knowing, that lightness of being with your friends and people you enjoy is like going to take care of the like fate of the world. And I think he kind of loves that. In fact, like you just said, he just loves that Sam is with him. He's like, oh, perfect.
Yeah, like, couldn't have planned it better myself.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's like, that's the person you chose to be his companion, man. Like, of course you're happy that. Here's a bit, kind of a philosophical question that I think we could kind of sink our teeth into a little bit. Aragorn and the rest kind of fill in the story of what's happened since they've parted, since he fell. And it says that Aragorn tells him about the death of Boromir and the last journey upon the great river, and the old man sighs. And he says, "You have not said all that you know or guess, Aragorn, my friend." So Gandalf, I think, reads Aragorn's mind and sees the full truth of Boromir's betrayal.
Yep.
And he says, "Poor Boromir. I could not see what happened to him. It was a sore trial for such a great man, a warrior, and a lord of men. Galadriel told me that he was in peril, but he escaped in the end. I am glad. It was not in vain that the young hobbits came with us, if only for Boromir's sake." What do you make of that? I think about that. I think about that all the time.
Yeah, it's Boromir's sacrifice that ultimately redeems him from
His betrayal. But it's almost like Gandalf is saying, like, even if Merry and Pippin achieve nothing else, which, like, he knows that they are the pebbles that are beginning an avalanche that is the marching of the Ents. He's like, even if they do nothing else to contribute to the effort, the fact that they allowed Boromir to redeem himself through his sacrifice is like justification enough for them having come. I just feel like it's not a modern way of thinking about like purpose.
No, I mean, it's there's no greater love than this, than to lay down your life for your friends, right?
Yeah.
All of my liberal Protestant, modernism is like screaming in my head that how could we just say that, the Hobbit's only good is to be in peril so that some man could,
save them.
Save them. But that's what this story is, and that is what Tolkien is dealing in here.
It was providential that Merry and Pippin would come along, because if nothing else, they gave Boromir an opportunity to like be his true self again.
Right. Well, and I think it's interesting that like Gandalf is actually lifting up Boromir in a way, like there's a way of looking at it, I think, that says the fate of Boromir's soul is as important as the quest itself, right? Like even if Merry and Pippin are a sideshow or whatever, or even though Merry and Pippin's presence in the company doesn't really have a large effect on the company itself, or on the success, right, of this like quest to save the world from Sauron,
right?
The fate of Boromir's soul is as important as the quest itself, right? Like I think that's really interesting that like Boromir, there's such a flawed character.
Yeah.
The grace that he receives, right, in that moment, and then from his kind of interaction with Aragorn, we kind of talked about Aragorn as priest.
Yeah. And the absolution he gives him.
That absolution is like, has ultimate import, certainly for Boromir, right?
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if it doesn't for the whole world. And that's a theme that you and I have, I think, come across a lot, that like even though the fate of the world isn't tied up in Boromir's redemption for Boromir matters more than anything.
Yeah. It is
Right.
the fate of the world. Yeah.
And so like it is the world. So like, yeah, it's really, I think, a lot richer than a critique that would just say like, well, isn't,
Yeah. How dare you say that the Hobbit's only purpose
right.
was to be stolen so that Boromir could, yeah. I mean,
But it's actually the opposite of reductive, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole universe like in Boromir's mind, right? Like,
yeah,
and that matters as much as the striving
beautifully
against
said.
Sauron.
That's beautifully said. I think like the next 3 pages here, I think we could almost read like getting like too deep into this is almost a mistake. But
yeah,
let me, if you would, just kind of summarize like all of the points that, and I'll start with Boromir. Okay.
Yeah, please.
And Gandalf kind of goes on a diatribe here, and I think it's hilarious. He says like, oh yeah, old people have a tendency to talk to themselves because they're the wisest people that they know. This is classic Tolkien. I love that.
Yeah, it's so great.
But talking about fate, a constant theme in Lord of the Rings is that even when calamitous things happen, as long as good people continue to choose the good, it will be revealed that the only way that good could triumph over evil is for all those bad things to have happened. Boromir had to betray Frodo. Because if Boromir had not betrayed Frodo, Frodo would not have struck out on his own. If Frodo had not struck out on his own, he would have been there when the Uruk-hai came 300 strong, and that would have been it.
Right.
An evil thing being used to bring about an ultimately good fate.
Yeah.
Merry and Pippin had to be abducted. Because if they hadn't been abducted, Boromir wouldn't have had a chance to redeem himself. Mm-hmm. And like the sinful man couldn't have had that chance of absolution. It had to happen. If Merry and Pippin hadn't been abducted, then Sauron would have been able to still be in the good graces of Mordor. It wouldn't have given Sauron the chance to betray Mordor, and it wouldn't have split up the evil forces. The only way that Sauron could have defeated Mordor is to have the ring. Now that is like beyond possible for him. Gandalf says, this in brief is how I see things at the moment. The enemy, of course, has long known the ring is abroad, and that it is borne by a hobbit. He knows now the number of the company that is set out from Rivendell and the kind of each of us. But he does not yet perceive our purpose clearly. He supposes that we are all going to Minas Tirith, for that is what he would himself have done in our place. And according to his wisdom, it would have been a heavy stroke against his power. So if everything had not been played out exactly the way that it does, like Sauron thinks that they are all in Minas Tirith right now. And so he is like preparing his forces to go march on Minas Tirith because that's where he thinks the ring is.
Yeah.
And if all those calamitous things hadn't happened exactly the way they did, then it wouldn't have happened this way. And because of that, he's about to strike at Minas Tirith too early. If he knew that Frodo was coming to Mordor, he would just double up his like surveillance.
Yeah, they would have seen him coming.
But he can't perceive that they would destroy the ring. He assumes that they are going to do what he would do.
Mm-hmm.
It says, but now his eye gazes abroad rather than near at home, and mostly he looks towards Minas Tirith. Very soon now his strength will fall upon it like a storm. So that's the Battle of Pelennor Fields. That's what's coming.
Yeah.
He's blinded by his inability to conceive of someone not wanting to wield power.
He can't watch the borders of Mordor and Minas Tirith and Pelennor Fields and Rohan, all at once.
Yeah.
And he's blinded because of his like ego, right? His like,
Yeah.
his striving to be this like power, the same way that Saruman has been.
Right. And if Saruman and Sauron would just work together, this would be an easy win.
But they can't, of course, because they're both just malignant narcissists. Like,
Yeah, like only one finger can wield the ring, and both of them want it to be theirs.
Right. Yeah.
It's interesting, this line here. It goes, "Yet a treacherous weapon is ever a danger to the hand." What a great line.
Yeah, cut yourself.
Sauron also had a mind to capture the ring for himself, or at least to snare some hobbits for his evil purposes. So between them, our enemies have contrived only to bring Merry and Pippin with marvelous speed and in the nick of time to Fangorn, where otherwise they would never have come at all. That is like the thesis of the entire book.
Yeah.
That like evil undoes itself, and is like, as hard as they might try, like good prevails. So that was maybe a long, convoluted way of saying all this, but I think that, I think that's what's so masterful about this. It's like the reason why they're going to win is because Sauron can't conceive of them not trying to wield the ring as a weapon. Yeah. And so he assumes that they're at Minas Tirith with the ring, and he is going to strike too soon because he's afraid that they're going to strike out from Minas Tirith with the ring.
Right.
And so that's why it's like, Gandalf calls him a wise fool.
Yeah, the only thing he understands is power, force, domination, tyranny. Yeah. He doesn't understand power through weakness, simplicity, no. Self-sacrifice.
No.
Yeah. Which is what wins in the end here.
He says he now has Isengard to fear as well as Minas Tirith. If Minas Tirith falls, it will go ill with Sauron. So Sauron's a dead man.
Yeah, like, Saruman's dead no matter what. If he doesn't get the ring, but of course we know the ring is nowhere near Saruman right now, so.
No.
Saruman, in playing the part that he's been playing,
yeah,
has helped the company. The enemies failed to gain the ring, partially because of Saruman striving for the ring.
Yeah.
And that's where Gimli says, "Then is not Saruman a traitor?" said Gimli.
Yeah.
And Gandalf says, "Well, yeah, he is, doubly. And is that not strange? Nothing we have endured of late has seemed so grievous as the treason of Isengard. There's something worse about it because it's more personal or something like that, maybe."
He says he threatens the men of Rohan and drives off their help from Minas Tirith, even as the main blow is approaching from the east. So he's like, yeah, like he's poisoning the minds of the Rohirrim to weaken Minas Tirith so that when Mordor comes and, is that storm that, bashes against the walls of Minas Tirith, they won't have the Rohirrim to help them. And so that's now what Gandalf has to prevent. He's like, we know now that Mordor is coming for Minas Tirith, and so we need to make sure that the Rohirrim are there to help when the time comes. And that's what, all the action of the coming pages are leading up to, the Rohirrim being ready to answer the call when Gondor makes the call.
Right.
So that's their goal now. They're like, you know what? Like, Merry and Pippin have their role to play. Sam and Frodo have their role to play. Now Gandalf, Gimli, Aragorn, Legolas, their task, as Gandalf sees it very clearly here, is to free up the Rohirrim to be there when Gondor needs them.
Right.
And it's so complex, but Tolkien just has like such a clear vision of all the moving parts here. It's really masterful. So all this talk about Sauron, Gimli finally gets to another mystery, which I think, you and I were unclear on this. I think probably everyone is pretty unclear on this. Gimli's like, wait a minute. There's another thing that I should like to know first. Was it you, Gandalf, or Sauron that we saw last night? And here we get a definitive answer from the man himself. You certainly did not see me. Therefore, I must guess that you saw Sauron. Evidently, we look so much alike that your desire to make an incurable dent in my hat must be excused.
I love incurable dent in my hat. So good. So dense. There's so many callbacks and little jokes and things like that in this chapter.
Yeah, but I think it's nice that we get a definitive answer that it was not Gandalf, which means that it must have been one of the phantoms of Sauron, as Gimli feared all along.
So the hunters find out that the hobbits are with Fangorn,
Yes.
with the Ents, and again, this is something out of myth and legend for everyone
Yes.
coming back to life. And they ask, well, should we go soon and go find our friends and see Treebeard?
No.
And Gandalf says, no, that's not the road that you must take.
Yeah.
I've spoken words of hope, but only of hope. Hope is not victory.
Yeah.
War is upon us and all our friends, a war in which only the use of the ring could give us surety of victory.
And this is the moment where he puts his hand over his eyes and he looks eastward. And then he shakes his head and he says, no, it has gone beyond our reach. So he's saying, like, I'm not able to bend my mind to sense Frodo anymore. But he says, of that, at least, let us be glad. We can no longer be tempted to use the ring. We must go down to face a peril near despair, yet that deadly peril is removed. So he's like, basically like, yeah, count yourself lucky that Frodo is like so far away from us now that like we can't be tempted to use the ring anymore.
Right.
And I've said this multiple times, but you can't be tempted by something you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that he says like we can no longer be tempted to use the ring means that at one point in time he was tempted to use the ring.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah, I wonder if they feel some freedom, of to be able to focus on something kind of more concrete than striving against the ring. Like all they have to do is, get Rohan to answer the call to Minas Tirith.
That goes all the way back to chapter 2, like when Gandalf says, "Don't tempt me, Frodo."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
like you can't be tempted by something you don't want.
Right.
He has this moment of like consolation to Aragorn, which I think is really beautiful. He says, "Come, Aragorn, son of Arathorn, do not regret your choice in the valley of the Aemon Wheel, nor call it a vain pursuit." Which is what he's been doing the whole time. I mean, how many times has he said it? Like all of my
like 6 or 7 times where he's talks about
all my
doubts
decisions have gone
right.
Wrong. Like I've made every wrong decision. He goes, "You chose amid doubts the path that seemed right. The choice was just, and it has been rewarded. For so we have met in time who otherwise might have met too late." So that's the thesis again. It's like, if all those bad things hadn't happened, those things that you judged to be a disaster or calamity, if they hadn't happened exactly the way they did, then we wouldn't have met in this moment right now. And that's exactly what is needed for the quest to succeed. So never count yourself out. Like if you are going through a hard time, I'm switching into like preacher mode here. Sorry. Like if you listener are going through a hard time, and you think that there's no hope, like with the gift of retrospect later, you might look back and say, like, everything that happened to me had to happen in order for me to get to this moment.
Right.
And that's like, whether you believe that or not, like theologically, philosophically, I want to believe that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't think I do believe it because I'm basically pretty cynical person.
Yeah.
But the prayer that I tell myself all the time is like, have some hope,
Yeah. Yeah. But he states it pretty clearly here. He goes, "You must go to Edoras and seek out Theoden in his hall, for you are needed. The light of Andoril must now be uncovered in the battle for which it has long awaited. There is war in Rohan and worse evil. It goes ill with Theoden." So he's basically like, hey, like, he says, your next journey is marked by your given word. He's like, hey, you told Éomer that you would go back to meet Theoden. So, like, chop, chop. And that's where we get to the line that we started the episode with today. He is, like, now reaffirming Gandalf's role as their captain and as their guide.
Yeah.
The Dark Lord has 9, but we have 1. The White Rider. He has passed through fire and the abyss, and they shall fear him. We will go where he leads.
So Legolas says, so about the fire in the abyss,
Yeah.
could you let us know like what that was like?
Gimli says, come, Gandalf, tell us how you fared with the Balrog. And Gandalf shudders. He says, name him not. And it says that he looks old as death.
Yeah.
And he begins to speak. Long time I fell. What a great sentence is that?
Strange way to put that, yeah.
Long time I fell. And he thinks back on it with difficulty. Again, it's like almost like it's been like,
like a millennia or something. Yeah.
He says, long I fell and he fell with me. His fire was about me. I was burned. Then we plunged into the deep water and all was dark. Cold it was as the tide of death. Almost it froze my heart.
There are so many descriptions of the Balrog here that are making me
Grossed out?
Grossed out, but questioning everything I think I know about the Balrog. Right? We had a long conversation about what we think the Balrog is like.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, you might remember it.
We completely agreed, right?
Yeah, we were on 100% agreement. I mean, I think the thing we agreed on is that it's like a void in the world, sort of. It's like a pit of. It's like almost like a
negation, I think is a word we used. Yeah.
But it says that his fire was about me. He got burned by the Balrog's fire. But then the fire went out. So it was hot, then it was cold. I mean, Gandalf really went through the ringer here. And then they're at the like bottom of the world, beyond light and knowledge. Thither I came at last to utmost foundations of stone. He's like at the roots of all creation. And then it says that the fire was quenched, but it was a thing of slime, stronger than a strangling snake. All those S's. Slime, stronger, snake, strangling.
Oh, that's great.
The thing is just, this thing is like, it's just anything around it that's gross or harmful, it like is, Then we get I think this like has captured people's imagination forever.
Yeah.
That there are things in these dark tunnels that are gnawing at the roots of the earth. Far below the deepest delvings of the dwarves, the world is gnawed by nameless things. Even Sauron knows them not. They are older than he. Like, oh my goodness gracious.
Now I have walked there, but I will bring no report to darken the light of day.
I like that. Gandalf is like, look, no one has been there except for who? Gandalf. That's who. I've been there.
Sauron as he should have been, Gandalf the White, Mithrandir.
That's right. Mithrandir.
So they go up this thing called a nameless stair. And they go to this place called, this peak that Gimli's like, oh, Durin's Tower. Like, we thought it was a myth. Like we didn't even remember that it was there. And he goes, oh, it was there, but it's not there no more because that thing was destroyed by the Battle of the Peak.
And then Gandalf throws down with the Balrog.
He's basically like, what would people, like, if anybody had been able to see this, how would they even begin to describe it?
Yeah.
Like, I can't even put into words how awesome this battle was. Thunder they heard, and lightning, they said, smote upon Celebdil, and leapt back broken into tongues of fire. A great smoke rose about us, vapor and steam. Ice fell like rain. I threw down my enemy, and he fell from the high place and broke the mountainside where he smote it in his ruin. Then darkness took me, and I strayed out of thought and time, and I wandered far on roads that I will not tell. He says, naked I was sent back for a brief time until my task is done, and naked I lay upon the mountain top. I was alone, forgotten, without escape, upon the hard horn of the world. There I lay staring upward, while the stars wheeled over, and each day was as long as the life age of the earth. And that's where Gwaihir the Wing Lord finds him. So this is the second time in this book that Gwaihir has plucked him from a peak and saved his life. Orthanc and now here. And yeah. Gwaihir. And Gwaihir takes him to Lothlorien.
Ever am I fated to be your burden, friend at need.
Ooh, I feel like I could write that to you in a letter, dude. Ever am I fated to be your burden. That's such a nice thing
to say. Thank you.
But Gwaihir's response is so beautiful. He's like, yeah, you have been a burden, but not right now. Like, you're lighter than a swan's feather. He's like, I could let you fall and you would just float back to the earth. And Gandalf's like, don't joke about that. Don't joke about please, God.
I like that Gwaihir doesn't just like downplay it. He's like, yeah,
you have been a burden.
You have been a burden.
Yeah.
But I got you. I got you, bro.
I got you, dog.
Caw,
bro. Caw.
Yeah, I like that. That's really beautiful, though. He says, you know what? Right now, it's all good. I got you. So.
And I think like Gwaihir is like recognizing that he's like newly born. He's been sent back. Like he really died. And now he really is like an elevated spiritual being. It says, thus I came to Karas Galadhon and found you, but lately gone. So he's like, I got there like just a little bit after you left.
Right.
And he says, I tarried there in the ageless time of that land where days bring healing, not decay. Healing I found, and I was clothed in white. Counsel I gave, and counsel I took. Thence by strange roads I came, and messages I bring to some of you. So he's like, hey, I got a couple text messages here on my Motorola Razr flip phone. Let me just put my reading glasses on. I'm going to read those out to you. Aragorn, here is a cryptic poem that could have been said very simply, but instead is in a song for some reason. Basically like, hey, get your boys. It's time to ride.
Gonna go through the dead watch the dead that watch the road that leads to the sea.
And you need your Dunedain
alert
with you. Yeah, right? Oh, come on, Galadriel. Oh, and Legolas, I got you a little song here from Galadriel as well. She says, beware of the sea because you're going to die. And Gimli's like,
what about me, dog?
What about me? I as I was listening to this today, I was listening to it one more time, like on my commute back home from work. And I was like, Gimli is like someone who's like sitting by their cell phone waiting for someone to text them back.
Yeah. He's just looking at that red notification.
Yeah. And he's just like, okay, like, yeah, everybody else got messages, but not me. He's just like sitting, waiting for that message. And he's just like, my life is bad.
Right.
Because my lady's not texting me. And Gandalf's like, oh, sorry. I was just like thinking for a minute about what I'd already said, but she brings you a message, Gimli. To Gimli, son of Glóin, give his lady's greeting, Lockbearer. Wherever thou goest, my thought goes with thee, but have a care to lay thine axe to the right tree. Galadriel's got bars, man.
I think Gandalf made that up. Gandalf was like, oh, shit.
Poor Gimli.
What should I tell him?
Oh my God.
Yeah, Lockbear. That's what she called you.
He's like, I'm gonna read Gimli's mind real quick. Oh, you did that weird hair thing.
You did that weird hair thing, and so maybe.
But Gimli loves this. He starts dancing around and starts speaking in his secret dwarf language in front of everybody else.
Interesting. Strange dwarf tongue.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, isn't it like that they like don't say that in front of anybody? That it's like a secret language.
Yeah, they only speak it to each other, and
So he
So he
forgets
must be
himself here.
excited. And then he starts swinging his axe around. That's so beautiful. Like the idea that like a dwarf would celebrate by, like taking out their axe and doing
Swinging
like
it
a
above their
form
head.
or whatever.
And this is my favorite line of the entire chapter. Since Gandalf's head is now sacred, let us find one that is right to cleave.
He's ready to go. He's charged up by Galadriel's Lockbearer poem.
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness. That won't be far to seek, said Gandalf, rising from his seat. Let's go, dog! Do-do-do-do-do. Now there is need of haste.
So Legolas is like, hey, it's going to be a long walk to Rohan, bro. Like to the Golden Hall. That's going to be a long, weary walk. Gandalf's like, hey, I got you.
I got you, dog. I know a guy.
And so he lets out a clear and piercing note of a long whistle. It was a note that the others stood amazed to hear. They couldn't believe that sound came out of that old man's lips. 3 times he whistles. And then, faint and far off, it seems they hear a whinny of a horse borne up from the plains upon the eastern wind.
What horse? Who is it?
Oh, it's not just one horse, it's 3. Legolas is like, see how they run. There's Hasufel, and there's my friend Arod beside him. I think it's so sweet he calls him his friend.
I know.
But there's another that strides ahead, a very great horse. I have not seen his like before. Nor will you again, said Gandalf. That is my boyfriend, Shadowfax.
My boyfriend.
He is the chief of the Maoras, Lord of Horses, and not even Theoden, King of Rohan, has ever looked on a better. Does he not shine like silver and run as smoothly as a swift stream? He has come for me, the horse of the White Rider. We are going to battle together.
Yeah, he has.
So that horse comes and he puts his nostrils in that old man's neck, and Gandalf caresses him.
Oh, goodness.
It is a long way from Rivendell, my friend, he said, but you are wise and swift and come at need. Far let us ride now together and part not in this world again. Greatest love story in Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so they find out for sure now that the horses didn't leave because they were afraid. They left because they heard their captain call them, their chief.
Gimli gets to ride Shadowfax.
I'm jealous.
What the heck?
Wait, so is he only the second person in history to ever ride Shadowfax after Gandalf?
He doesn't ride with Legolas. He rides with Shadowfax. Shadowfax shall bear us both.
I think it's interesting how he says, like, if Shadowfax will, like, allow him.
Oh, by his leave, yeah.
I think there's something beautiful about that. Like, Shadowfax is, like, there's, like, a mutuality between Shadowfax and Gandalf that I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think you mentioned that about Legolas saying that Arod was his friend.
Yeah. There's like really a mutuality there.
Right.
Yeah. Shadowfax is Gandalf's friend and Arod is Legolas's friend. For many hours they rode on through the meads and riverlands. Often the grass was so high that it reached above the knees of the riders, and their steeds seemed to be swimming in a gray-green sea. Smoke seemed to rise up and darken the sun's disk to the hue of blood, as if it had kindled the grass as it passed down under the rim of the earth. That's a beautiful sentence.
Yeah.
There lies the gap of Rohan, says Gandalf. It is almost due west of us. That way lies Isengard.
I see a great smoke, said Legolas. What may that be? Battle and war, said Gandalf. Ride on.
Ride on.
Tolkien really, these last 2 chapters.
He's cooking, man.
The last sentence of the last chapter, chapter 4, night lies over Isengard, said Treebeard. Then we hear about Isengard again. What's that smoke? Battle and war, said Gandalf.
Do.
What? Fatty Bulger. Got to make those Fatty Bulger t-shirts. Thank you for reading along with us this week. Next week, we'll be back with Book 3, Chapter 6 of The Two Towers, The King of the Golden Hall. If you want to help us out, please share this podcast with a Lord of the Rings fan in your life. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the places where you get your podcasts. Leave a review, subscribe on YouTube, and visit us at waywardwizards.com for more info. We love you, and we hope you will join us next week. I've been Logan. He's been Zach. Say goodbye, Zach.
Do. Fatty Bulger.
Fatty Bulger.
Caw-caw.
Bye.
Why here? We'll see you next week.